And good afternoon, good evening, everybody. Welcome back into the Dragon's Den. My name's Digital Dragon, 3D printing variety streamer here on Twitch, and I hope you're having a great day. Welcome on in, Timor. How's it going today? Hopefully you're doing well. Yeah, so today we're going to work on adding the gantry. We'll go ahead and work on belting some Z's, doing some other stuff like that. We're going to start by swapping out a couple of panels though. If you remember right, I had, hey Blue Chocolate Bro, how's it going? If you guys remember right, this is kind of where we left off on last stream, where we had the bed fan and the filter fan kind of installed here. And I was looking at this going, I should make these accents pop a little bit more, right? So we printed some replacements out with the gray in the background and the dark magic with the top. So these are going to pop a little bit more, not as much as if they were like, you know, massively different colors, contrasting colors, but this will slide in there now and we'll get a little bit more contrast and pop going on that. All right. You may also see that I added the piece down here. I did go ahead and add the Wago side mount here, just trying to see how that would look. And I also popped in the outlet just really to try and look from underneath to see what that's going to do with wiring, and also just to, it was rattling around in the box now because we pulled a bunch of stuff out of the box, so I was trying to empty out one whole tub. But yeah, and so we've got the main printer back here, and what we're going to be working on today is going to be the gantry here and hanging the gantry. Now, one of the things we'll need to do when we go to hang the gantry is add our belts to the bottom side, and we'll need some distance for our belts so that we can get that prepped and ready to go. So let me see here real fast. Belts. Where were the belts at? I think the belts were in one of the vertical tubs, because this is the VHB tape, the foam, the bed. Belts have got to be in one of the vertical tubs here. And I probably, maybe Capricorn. Ah, hey look, we've got belt. We've got belt. Awesome. Put that back in there. So I'll be running belt in the Z's and getting the gantry hung, and we'll work on, once we get the gantry hung, then we can go ahead and get things squared up, make sure it's all squared up, tightened down, and then we can work on belting our gantry up here once it's all set up. Now, I do have the printed part here. It is printed in the Inland Sparkle Gray ABS. The reason I didn't do it in the PPS is because I realized while I have something that can print the PPS, I don't have a piece that can, or I don't have a good way of annealing the PPS. Because I need something that's going to hold proper temp for, I think it was 16 hours to properly anneal it. It should be strong enough even without annealing because it's PPS CF. And let me see, I've got, so the printer behind me should be able to hit the temps needed to print it, no problem. And I have a printer downstairs. The problem with the one downstairs, it's got a tube with a 1.0 nozzle, so I need to put a smaller nozzle in it. So we'll see. Maybe I reprint this. No big deal. We'll get the belts on here. We'll leave some slack on it. One of the last things we'll do is cut the gantry belts flush anyhow. But we're going to kind of get started here. Now the one thing to note too is this is a slightly different configured hot end than the one shown in the old manual. The only place we're going to put heat sets is down here at the bottom. The top here is going to be screwed into plastic, and then this area right underneath here is where the piezo board's going to mount. So yeah, everything else is pass through, and down here we'll be dropping some nuts into, so we'll be good regardless. See, it shows us belting the gantry before we mount it, and I really want to mount the gantry because you're never going to be able to really tighten your belts and everything with it not in the printer. Hey Captain Kern, how's it going? Welcome, welcome, welcome. We're going to start with the gantry upside down. Remember, we've got our tops screwed down in here, and that's kind of keeping us from being way too floppy. When we flip this over, we don't have the belt covers on the bottom, and this is what's going to allow us to run our belts. Does it give me an actual length, or are we going to have to figure it out? I wonder if in the CAD, it actually gives me like a belt length for the Z, or if it just gives me it's a GT2 belt. It just gives me that it's a Z belt. It doesn't even give me the fact that it's a 6mm belt. Hey Ramon, how's it going? Hope you're doing well. Yeah, Captain Kern, you finally get to catch one of my streams. And I saw that you were streaming earlier today. I was not able to join in. I think it was earlier today. Maybe it was yesterday. Regardless, I saw that you were live and I was not able to join in because I have been having so many flipping meetings lately. It's killing me. The best I would be able to do is like join on and keep myself muted and just give you a view number, which I'm probably going to do as the meetings pick up, but fun times. Okay, belts. We're going to need to try and figure out belt length. I am going to make these long. Yeah. Set that like that. So all I'm going to do is get our belt undone. And we're just going to kind of figure some basic belt length out. We're coming up and over, down, and I know I'm not going all the way down So by doing something like that, that's going to give me a good guesstimate of where to cut. I really wish they gave me like a length, but that's going to be plenty. We'll give it another 5 or 6 and we'll call it good. Remember that you're going to have some belt consumed here and then on the opposite side. So you don't want to cut yourself too short, but you don't want to cut like to where you have 5 inches of excess belt. Because that's just wasting belt that can be used other places. And speaking of which, before I cut this down, because if I join this up following our the one that's cut, we start at the top and we put the longer length of our belt in the first groove. You would pull this down, keeping it in the groove all the way down. The first visible groove is where you would cut. The problem is that leaves that much. Whoops. That's going to leave like, good God, what is going on here? Am I zoomed in? Partially. So if we do this cut here, this much belt's going to be left, right? And that's not going to be long enough for another Z belt. So what I'm going to do is before I cut that, I want to just see if this will remotely come up and make a gantry belt, which it will. So we're going to hold this off as a gantry belt now. We'll cut our other 2 Z's out of this belt, and then we'll use that as needed. And how's it going, K2 Kevin? Welcome on in. Kevin, I got to ask, did our friend ever reach out to you and get you sorted or not? Because if not, I'm going to kind of yell and scream. Because he's making me look bad right now. Sunshine? Who's Sunshine? You're here calling me Sunshine now? All right, so once again, I'm just going to unspool a little bit here. We're going to take our pouch belt. We're going to take this new belt. We're going to go into the first groove. And then we'll work our way down through it, making sure that they stay together. Oh my God. Okay. And once again, we're going to cut the first open groove that we have. And he ghosted you ever since. All right. I will get back on it then. And also, I will say I'm going to be bringing mine home this weekend. It's been sitting down at Ecovate. I'm going to be bringing mine home. And I will go through that config and make sure if I need to, I will sit down and we will figure it out together. Because I did not get the full config set up either. I had to come back home and he stayed until like 3 in the morning working on it. So I know there is a good config on mine. I just need to make sure you have a good config on yours so that you're good to go. All right, so there's 2. We're going to get 1 more done. Yeah, we're going to get your auto eject squared away. Hey, Eagle. Yep. Hopefully we can get you squared away and you can put it to use on some maker chips. God knows I need to still get some of my maker chips done as well. Alrighty. So that's our 4 belts for the Z. And we'll put this over here for use later when we do our gantry. And when we go to put our belts on the Z, we're only going to go in with the inner one. The outer one's going to be a 20 mil, an M3 by 20 bolt, and that will go in afterwards when we go to hang it because that's what's going to hold things up. And it's 12 millimeter, right? Let me... Oh, yeah, that's... I Z joint. M3 by 12. Because we've got to go through 2 plates, so we'll need 4 of those. Now, like I said, the other one's going to be M3 by 20. So we need our other 4 little clamps. We're going to grab our belts, and our belts start off from the edge going back in. So we'll just kind of drape that over. Making sure I know which way the words are going to be. And actually, let me... And so remember your clamp pieces, this side is for the smooth belt side and it needs to go through that slit. So I've put it through the slit, laid it down so it's nice and flat at the edge, and it's gripping in the grooves on this printed part. And then I'm getting my 1 bolt started, and I'm going to go ahead and get that one locked down, which will be easier if I actually put something in there to capture it, right? Oh, yeah. And this is where I might need to use a couple more of my, or not a couple more of, but a couple of the things that we have. Yeah, that's very descriptive. A couple of the M3 no slide nuts. We may need to use a couple of those here for this front one, because once again, we're going to have that in place and lined up. And then we're going to put in a M20 bolt and up through the bottom of the Z, a couple of washers, and then up through this part and into that hex. So if we've got a couple of, we have a couple of those that are useful that will go in there. If not, then I will print a couple. Will these go in there and line up? These ones are too long. Two. Oh. I might use the, no, spaced right. Okay. Slides, that's not spaced right. So I do believe I will need to print off 1 or 2 of these, or just have to fight my way through it. Oh no, are you serious? Nope, can't use this one. If it's got the vertical tab at all, it hits on the printed piece, so I'd have to use the sliders that don't have the verticals in them, and I think they just pretty much slide, so they can go too far and miss a line. So I may have to put in a placeholder screw to hold them in place. M3 by 20. There we go. Hey, Jedi Spidey, how's it going? So I am going to put one of these in here just to hold that screw in place. And we'll have to do our best I mean, technically these would work, I think, from a spacing standpoint. So I'm wondering if I cut one of the tabs off flush, if it will actually work out to my advantage. I'm thinking it will. And that one does line up that way. We will need that to go there. Push down some. Lines up. Just a couple more days, Spidey, and we will be hanging out at the Maker event. I am planning, unless, like I said, if the rain holds off, I am planning on bringing the Magenta Rising with me to the event and showing it off. Magenta Rising being the 0G Mercury build that we just completed. That is right behind me. All right, what's going on? Go there. Yes. You go there. There goes in hole. And that's not tightening up. Why not? Did my... Nope, that's in place. So what I'm wondering is if it's the fact that it's able to basically fall down some in the channel, so I can't get, dang it, I can't get a thread started on the nut. So I'm going to try and use gravity to my advantage here and hope that, well, the nut didn't move on me, but it did. It did a lot. Joys of working with small printers. This has nothing to do with the fact that it's a small printer and everything to do with the fact that it's just a joy. There you go. That was fun. Now, where'd all the other hardware go that I knocked off? 220s, 212s. So there's another M3 by 20 knocked over on the ground somewhere. Oh, where'd you go? Ah, we'll find it later. And I think that's a longer one. I think if I can just cut off the tab on one of these, that I should be able to slide it in underneath the piece. Yep. Now we need to do the other front one over here. And I'm playing with fire, leaving that up there and open. Hey, Free Heathen, how's it going? Doing well. Doing well. Having fun. Living a dream. Playing around with fasteners, that may or may not want to work with us. So all I'm doing here is using M20 screws to hold some nuts in place, because we're going to have to take these M20 screws and mount them up from underneath. So by doing this, we're going to be able to have them kind of pre-positioned, which will make our life a little bit easier once we go to do these, because it's going to have to come through the Z joint. So it'll come through the Z joint, through the belt clamp, into the motor mount there, and then finally into the nut that we're going to put in place. So it's going through a kind of a lot of things to get there. Now, hopefully we don't have an issue with this one going in. I say that, and we do. So what we're running into is just the simple fact that the nut can sit a little bit lower in the channel, so I can't get enough thread down to get to said nut. So now I'm having to hold everything in place and get gravity to help me some to start getting threaded on that nut. All right, I think that worked. We'll put one more nut in the back side here and get it pre-aligned. And we're just going to get a couple of threads going on this. To make sure that it catches. And this is normally where the fun comes into play. My work is all saying, well, thank you, Free Heathen. So I'm trying to think how I want to do this, because the fact that we've done all of the we put all of our screws and the Z's, I have no easy way of holding these up in a given position when I set the tops on it. So a thought that just popped into my head was, if I flip this over, and if I'm lucky, we'll be able to do something like this, right? And then we can take our gantry, which, once again, this is the bottom side. Our motors are going to be facing the bottom, or the deck. So if I can take this and work it in, like so. Come on. There we go. We can work it in sort of like so. We can use gravity to our advantage still. Because what we're going to need to do is take each one of these screws out. We'll bring our Z-axis down for that particular corner. Actually, we'll start over here where you can see what I'm doing. Let me zoom you in a bit. So this is that 20 millimeter bolt. We're going to need to pop this out. Okay. Our sled's going to come down. Now there's an ABEC bearing right here at the top. We're going to have our 20 millimeter screw coming through, and we're going to need 2 of our M3 shim washers. Trying to work smarter. I'm hoping this is going to work out in my favor. So we need 2 M3 shim washers that are going to go right there on that hole. Our screw is going to come right down through those shim washers and down into this plate now. And if everything is right and the stars align, I'll be able to get this to go down and screw in. If everything's right and the stars align, hey, whoa, up, up, up. We getting tension? We're getting tension, yay. So this one's now screwed in. Now what that's going to allow me to do is kind of tweak, pull, and stuff like that so I can make sure and get the front one done as well. So we'll take this front one out. Hope you're doing well today, Will. And once again, we're going to need 2 of our M3 shim washers. We're going to kind of stack those up nicely and put them over that front hole. We'll put our M3 by 20 screw down into there, push it all the way through. Okay, so that's now gone through the ABEC bearing that's up here, and we're going to bring this down, and we need it to go through this hole. Now it looks like we're tight, so I'm going to undo that. Aren't you? I just want to crack these 2 screws underneath here. Basically giving me a little bit of working room. By cracking all 3, that'll let me reposition this somewhat to make sure that this gets down into that hole. Hopefully we can get this Yep. Okay, so that's now connected as well. Now we're going to come around and we're just going to do the same thing on the other side. Let me turn this around. And we're going to rinse and repeat and do the same thing over on this side. So we're going to take this screw out. Oh, I'm like, what is that catching on? It's catching on the actual idlers. Let me see. Can I come in from the do back to front? Yeah, that might give me a little bit better. Hoping to give me a better angle. Not sure what we're catching on back here, other than maybe the motor pieces, the motor mount, um, little screw downs. Just trying to make it a little closer to the angle because that'll make it easier for us to get the screws aligned. Today was your Friday, so you're off work and working on building some models for Saturday. Rock on. Rock on. Again, we'll get this in, we'll get that M3 by 20 in there and get it pushed through the ABEC. Make sure our ABEC is lined up nice and square. Here we go. And when I say the ABEC, it's ABEC, of course, is a spec, but in this case, it's a spherical bearing. So that's what I'm trying to refer to is the spherical bearings that we're using. And that's what gives it its slight kinematic movement where all four corners can move slightly and independent of each other. Awesome. I picked the one driver that's magnetized. And our washers are also magnetized. Okay. There we go. That is now down in there, and let's see if we can't get these tightened up. Come on, you can do it. Could be in there. Why are we not getting there? You said the joys of working on small parts And this one is not feeling like it is aligning with the screw, or with the screw, with the nut. Come on, you little. Always gotta be one. Always gotta be one. So the rear ones, I had put the um, nuts and carriers, so they should be lined up. And things should go in nicely. Get those out of the way. Okay, I think I figured the problem out. We're going to need to crack all of our screws and keep our gantry a little loosey-goosey now, so that we can just make sure that everything has some compliance to it. Which is going to make her a bit floppy, but that's okay. But what that's going to allow is our a little front to back movement on our uh, linear rails and stuff. Yeah, should definitely some oofta. Need to undo the ones on that side. We don't need to undo these much, just like a quarter turn, just to allow it the ability to slide a bit. Because what's happening is this corner just did not have enough room to kind of move around and line up with the thing there. So now it will have the ability that we can push and pull it just a little bit to get it properly lined up. Here we go. Okay. Hopefully we'll get this last one done, and sorry about that. We'll get the last one done here, and then we'll be good to go. We're going to have fun here because this front should have a, whatchamacallit, front would have had a, just a hex nut in it, which means it was moving around and sliding around. So, that there, move that over, bring this down. Stars and moons align. Stars and moons align. Please, stars and moons align. Yay. Okay, so we have all four of those now in place. So that's part one of the process. Whew. Part two, we're going to get this out of the way, and we're going to let all four of these come down to rest on the stops. Okay, everything's now resting on the stops. I'm going to take these and pull them to the outside so that they are out of the way. And kind of what I want to do is take this rail and move it front to back. and make sure that everything is in alignment. And then the other thing that we need to do is yell at somebody for taking my measuring device and not bringing it back. We're going to take a long straight edge and I'm going to place it on the frame and this edge. This edge has to ride within the frame. Otherwise, we're going to have some rubbage. So we're good on that side. Good on that side. Okay. So, what we can do now is I'm going to lock this rear back in. And we can now also lock these sides because remember our 20s are now locked in place. So we'll lock the 12s. And remember these are clamping down on the belts. Now what we'll want to do, let me bring you guys back out some. Okay, now what we're going to want to do while we're here is let's go ahead and see about bringing these belts up and through our Z idlers. Is there, no. We have to make sure that we go around that belt, or around the belt, around the pulley. We're going to use a device here coming in from the side where we see that little window to push the tip down as we run the belt through the pulley or around the pulley. Seriously, come on. Go that way, come around the top. Another one of those should type of things. Should be easy. Kind of isn't, but pull you the rest of the way out, raise you up just a little bit. We did get this one around. Work that around the pulley. And this is going to go down. There's a little slot right here. So we're going to go down that slot. And that's what will take it through the frame and line us up with the idler pulley at the top. I'm just going to pull that through and leave it to the side. Because my thought process is we'll get the belts kind of going, we'll flip the printer back over, we'll rest this down at the bottom, and we can do our belts. So once again, this is going to come up. We're coming from the outside here, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to angle the belt like this so I can force it to go around the pulley. I'll bring it around and feed it back out through the side. There's a pulley window here. Damn it. Ah. There is a window in the pulley side of the motor there. And what this is allowing me to do is kind of bring the belt this way, force it around the printed part, pull it out, and then I can stick it back in and make sure it goes down around the other side of the pulley. So that's kind of the action I'm doing at the moment. So see, there's the belt pulled through. Now I'm going to take this and basically try and feed it back down on this side of the pulley and then back down through the deck panel so that I can well, where did you go now? Kind of the one thing that I'm finding too is with the, like normally on the standard Z's, you can like pull the motor as you pull the belt tight. You're not pulling these. These with the gears, they're just they do not want to move of their own accord, or what outside of their own accord, I should say, I guess. Where the heck are you at? Belt going in, but does not appear to be coming down. All right. There you are, you little. Way more painful than it needed to be. And now I'm wondering, I may have to look at the belt routing for these Z's again. Hey, 3D Medic Vince, how's it going? Because I'm going off the standard belt routing, and I just realized there's like an extra pulley in here. That's gonna. All right, CAD. Which V drive assemblies. Trying to isolate some things here so that, yeah, see, these are the standard Z's, not the, did I have, why do they not have the Galileo shown in here as well? Do I have, I think I have the Galileo Z's. I need to see the belt routing on the Z's is what I'm looking for. You guys can't see what I'm doing, so let me bring up the CAD here. Subassemblies. CAD's pretty darn large. This is the first time I've really seen my computer chunking. And it's chunking and thinking. There we go. Okay, so what I want to see is we've got an idler here. I guess let me bring in this and just start removing some pieces from the view. Yeah, so it's coming around the pulley and it needs to just come back here, and this is going to be a guiding idler. Okay. And that it will be on the ones that I've done already. Okay. I just see the idler there and I'm like, how is that, you know, how is that going to route the belt? But I guess the belt is going to be brought, it's going to keep it going straight down, right? There's no other path that would go. Okay. So let's come back to bench side. We're going to keep going. We need to do these other two. And once again, I'm going to come in from the bottom panel at an angle so I can get it around the backside of the Z motor pulley. Force it over. Preferably, I'd love to be able to just shoot it straight down without having to pull it out and then push it back down, but I cannot seem to get it to want to do that of its own accord. So we'll pull some of that back out, maybe. Hey, Otter's Danger Den, how's it going? I hope you are doing well today. Because we are doing good. We're just trying to fish belts like we do. Hey, Waters, did you get my Discord messages? Why do you have to be such a pain? You think the kids got up and running? Okay. Shaping up like another solo Waters. Why is that? Come on, you're right there. You're right. Oh. Okay, so we've got 3 of 4. So that's good. Guess while I'm here, I'll just go ahead and route it through I was going to say the lower idlers, the top idlers. All right, so we're 3 down, 1 more to go. Let's get our light there so that I can see what I'm doing. It's not going to help as much as I would want it to. Turn this around so hopefully I can see what I'm doing, because he is not playing nice. Come on now. You'd think at some point it would loop around instead of just bunching up. They shorted the thermistor with the hot end hold down screws, so they replaced it again with a bit less UGA. Okay, well that's good. They're learning. Yay, 50% done. Now let's get you going back the other way. Um, I was probably not going to come in. All right, now where the hell are you going? Because I've got a bunch of meetings like the entire morning, but maybe. All right, really? You're like trying to roll up into yourself here? Like, come on. The only thing I can think of is this stupid thing's like actually trying to roll back in on itself and go up. Oh, no, maybe? Come on. I would not at all be surprised if right after I get the Z-belt, Zura's like, hey, you can send that back to me now. I can do the rest. I just didn't want to do the Z-belts. Oh, where the hell did you... Oh, how? How? How the hell did you go over there? Why? Okay. That was 5 times more frustrating than it probably needed to be. You go to the side. And if I do anything else, it will fall. So what I'm going to do is just kind of move this partially down. Pull the slack up out of my belt. And then I'll go down and get these attached. Just so I'm not having to deal with the full weight coming off of these. I would love if this would route through there on its own, but I'm pretty sure it's going to tell me no with fresh belts. Yeah. Oofda. If I go to do that, it's going to really tell me no because of the um those things. So hold it with these two, flip it over. All right, and then let it drop. Great. Let me have the belt. Give me the loose belt. The reason I just realized I had to do that was because if I didn't, the as soon as I loosen these up fully, they're off to the races. Meaning there's nothing that's going to hold those M3 hex nuts in place, and then we're going to have a whole different set of things to fight. So now I'll be able to take these plates off one at a time, route the belt through it, and then we'll put them back on. But yeah, we'll see. There was part of me I was not thinking about coming in, but I can. Okay, one done. Mm. Really? Not in. So this is going to be one of those ones where it needs to be elevated just a little bit. And I'm going to have no way of really, oh, maybe, ooh, just enough. There we go. We got elevated just enough. All right, so we're going to fish our belt through. Happy birthday to your aunt. That's awesome. Did you go over and get tacos for lunch? Tacos. El Pastor burrito. I apparently did make these belts a lot longer than they needed to be. But that's okay. There's a pretty awesome taco truck right next to Ecovate 3D that every time I swing by there, we go get tacos or burritos. Okay. Now that we got our z-axes locked in, we can affix our belt. And I also want to make sure that my gantry is still moving nicely. And I've got a little bit of movement over here. So what I'm going to do is, I'm going to crack my screws a bit. And the hard part is I need to get the ones underneath. And I don't know if I'll be able to lift this up now. That's going to be a negative. Good God, come on. I'm going to have to look at this one. This one might be, oh, we might have enough. Oh, we're good. You may have the undersides loose already. Now, I want to check this one out. I'm going to flip this over and take a look at that belt and make sure that we don't have any hmm? These two sides are fairly loose, but like I said, I don't know about the the gearings here. But motors should not be skipping steps. Like this side is moving decently. This side, the front, is pretty stuck as well. What is going on with our gantry? Yes, we're wrecked. I know that. We will fix the racking, but it should have some movement here because what it's doing is it feels like it's skipping. Feels like it's skipping on the pulleys. Now you need the crimp kit. Okay, I've got my toolbox in the truck, which will have everything we need to do crimps. Something just seems weird. Let me just sit down and take a look at this for a second. Um, something definitely loose on this side. Let me see if I can't. Why? I think I just have belts that are loose on one side, so it's skipping before it starts to move. Why would the screw or the nut stay in place? I like sometimes. Are you freaking kidding me? Old guy yelling at machines. Yeah. Yeah. Old guy yelling at machines. You're gonna get that on this stream tonight. Yep. So what I'm having an issue with is like the one side is not really moving too nicely. And the only thing I can think of is the belts seem to be a little bit looser, and I think it's got just enough that it can skip. You see? And I don't know why it is skipping. Oh no. We'll play with that a little bit more later. Just know that I needed to get this moved up. See, this side moves up easy. This side, I'm like moving the whole printer and I'm not getting it to move. Please, dear God, tell me it's not something with these motors. I never even touched the motors. Um, I did not feel the need to undo the motors. Oops. Come on, let's unrack the gantry a little bit. Yeah, we'll have to figure something out. Gantry is definitely racked a bit. And like I said, this should not be making that noise. And I do not know why it is making said noise. And I hate to do this. Don't hold this against me. All right, pretty level. Actually pretty level. Way not level. Sides down. Normally I don't do this. All I'm trying to figure out is if something is really cattywampus and it's not. Oh, all right. I will have to, we'll do some research on that. We'll leave it at that for now. We'll do some research and try and figure out what's going on and why. I mean, it really could just be the higher whatchamacallit, gearing on those motors. Because I've never done the Galileos, and honestly, I didn't try to move them beforehand. They were pre-built. I didn't change them. Now, what I'm having is the gantry's not moving. Normally, the gantry would move fairly easily on a 2.4, but I've never used the Galileo. And the Galileo, the reason you use the Galileo is it's a higher gearing ratio, right? So you shouldn't be able to move it that easily. But we will need this Z to move up so that we can do stuff with the bed. And I can tell you, he's got a wrist watch extruder, which is a Galileo 2 base extruder that is pre-assembled in here. Which one's it in? So we've got a wristwatch, which is a Galileo 2 extruder. And normally, you know, you see things like this, you're like, oh, that's a knob, I can turn it. It can turn, but it's pretty stiff. So I'm wondering if it's an internal gearing thing, and I might have to undo the belts and take a couple of those apart. Blue Chocobro, are you still in here? Yeah, I have not put the Galileo Z's together or a Galileo extruder together either. So but I can tell you that just this one, it is a little bit more difficult to move than I would say would be normal. Um, I don't know. I don't know, but we'll keep going for now. Um, so we've got our Z's done, belted, wrapped around, closed out. Now it's going to start talking about some electronics, running the cable chain. We've got the lower mount and the upper mount. The lower mount is not anywhere near where it should be. It's just kind of chilling. We've got all of our skirts on. Hey, look, this manual ends as well. Awesome. So we're basically catting it. That's where we're at. We're catting it. We can still do the belts. What else can we do? We can do the belts. Hide the panels. We don't need the panels just yet. Let me flip back over here, kind of see where we're at. So we've got our fans in. We need to work on the bed. We sort of can't do the bed until we can raise our gantry up some, because I'm not going to be able to get it in there real easily. We're going to need to do some wiring. We can build a tool head. That is also an option of something we can do to keep going. The bed, once again, we've got Wago connectors to do our fans. And then we've got a set of Wagos that will go in here for basically breaking out our bed stuff. So we can go around and basically do the underdeck paneling or the underdeck wiring and then do it to the bed. And if we're going to do that, then I'll flip this up on its side. We'll go to the overhead view. So what we can really look at is start looking at our wiring. We haven't wired up any of our Z motors yet. We need to add our fans in for our cooling fans. We'll have our actual tool head to build still. What do I have as far as fans? And how many? I need 2 blowers for the tool head, 1 for the hot end itself, which is, I believe, the 2510, which means, the 4 4010 fans are going to be for the side skirt coolers. Heat. Sometimes. All right, there we go. 1, 2, 3, and 4. Okay, so what we're going to need to do is loosen that screw. We're going to take the whole screw off. Guess so. All right. Well, I'll go ahead and mount our fans here. We're going to be pulling air in. So we'll go ahead and screw these on like that. And I'm going to try and bring my... So I kind of want to bring them together like this. The problem is that's right where the screw is going to be. So I'm going to try and bring them together up here at the top to make it easier to do the wire routing. Now my fans on here are right here. I've got 4 fans. So let me think through this. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4. But we've also got the fans from under or up front. So I'm going to have to combine some fans. Most likely what I'm going to do is I'm going to combine the 2 fans on the one panel, and then that'll give us 1 and 2 on the fan connectors. Then one will go to the one will be for the Twelves barely work. I have to go up to 16s. 12s aren't going to work. We're going to have to go up to 16s. Well, they'd work if I put them in the opposite direction, but if I do that, then it'll be blowing air out versus sucking air in. You want to do that? Pull air out versus pulling air in. I mean, air movement is air movement, right? Doesn't really matter if it's coming out or going in. You're an engineer willing to read data sheets to help folks out. Well, that's good. I prefer to read data sheets sometimes. Not all the time, but sometimes. Okay, so I'm going that way. I'm going this way. Keep our wires towards the top and away from our mounting hole. Data sheets are a language unto themselves. I can believe that. I can believe that. Okay. So we've got one set of fans. Now, one of the things I want to look at is if we're going to do this and go 2 into 1, We'll be able to slip one of these on there. Maybe. We don't do it there. So we can get that put back on there. We can put one of these here. And that'll give us the ability to do both of these right here, come out and go in. Now with the nubs back here, we can print a part, but that just makes this stick out even more. I'm hesitant to cut those nubs off. And VHB tape might actually work, just to VHB tape that right there. The other option we could have would be to somehow mount it right at the edge on either side next to the or on the DIN rail itself next to our board. You know what? Let's do our primary wiring. Let's do our primary wiring. So this is our inlet. We've got our Wagos right down here. Probably not the best place for it, but it'll work. What I'm going to do is think my way through this. Kind of wish they had wiring in the CAD, because I'm just trying to think. If we put this right here, see, one set for the inlet, one set to come out of the inlet and go to the PSU. Ground to the SSR, load to the SSR, from the SSR into the bed. Neutral from the bed comes back to this. So we're good there. CAN buses will daisy chain together. So we'll come CAN bus through the cable chain to the HB15 at the gantry. Then we'll come off the gantry to go up to the tool head board. So we won't need that. What I was really just thinking is, do I need another set of Wagos underneath here to distribute any more power? And I don't think I do. I don't think I do. Okay, so we're going to bring neutral in. So where do we want? Let's do neutral in the middle. About there. And what I'm hoping is after we get these into the Wagos that what we're cutting off will have enough that we can do from the Wagos to the power supply. Hey, Projects in Dad's Garage, how's it going? I hope you are doing fantastic today. Thank you for jumping over here onto Twitch. We are continuing the Micron build here for Zura. And if you've ever done one of these, you know there's just not a whole lot of room to play around with. I was just trying to think, like, do I need another set of Wagos, or do I need like a 5-plex for Wagos? And I don't think we do. I think we got it all covered with the 3. Oh, darn you. Brian, on the other hand, is having problems. Uh-oh. You did made it into a Doom Cube? Okay. Um, so real fast, have you ever used the Galileo Z's? And if so, how difficult were they to move by hand? Because I've got one side of this that's moving decently, and then the other side just feels like it's skipping belt. And I don't know why. You have not used those? Okay. And also, to be honest, the Z motors were pre-built when I got them. I did not rebuild them. The only different parts were the outer skirt edge and the way the foot mounts. There, it just, instead of using 2 screws going into the edge or into the printed part, it goes into a different location. So basically, they're not being used that way. Okay, so ground neutral line. Well, I have. Oh, I should. Sweet. That's actually pretty cool. All right, I need different screwdriver. This is probably not the best one to use. It works, but really not a lot of spare room in here. Yes, we're dealing with um the Galileo Z's and a Galileo wristwatch extruder. So first time for both of those for me, so this will be fun. And that's my fear. Besides dropping a screw and not knowing where the hell it just went. Yeah, and that's my fear is that the um the gears aren't properly or fully meshed, and I'm going to wind up having to unbelt, take the gantry back off, and work on the Z's. And nothing against the original assembler. I think that was his first attempt at using the Galileos as well. So I should have taken everything apart, but I didn't. It's on me. Pull the stepper and reseat it. Um, the problem is the only way to get to the steppers is from the front. I think it goes all the way through. So if I start unbolting things, it may come off. Yeah. Oh yeah, definitely. Definitely. That will be a something to do off stream. Um, and then tell everybody the results. Eh, it is what it is. Oh, come on. All right. Just tell me to break it out and use the right tool, right? Look at that. How easy that is. Use a right size screwdriver and it just boom works. Yeah, like I said, it is what it is. Um, no biggie. Okay, do just like that. Uh, oh, think I've got another ground wire over here, which will be full. Look, I got a bunch of yellow ground wire. Maybe that'll be long enough. All right. I'll have to do some front. So what I figured was we might as well start doing some of the underbed wiring, and that'll get us started on spade. Spade. Where's the uh-oh. Now I gone and done it. Now I gone and done it. I done organized something and now I can't find things. Dang it. I hate when I do that. All right, did we put stuff over here? Quite possibly. Nope. I, I was organizing it and I put things away. And then I was trying to figure out where I put them away at. You know what? I may not want to do that. I think I want to do around there to there. Then that's not going to be long enough to go down to the bed. Dang it, dang it, dang it. So what I'm looking at doing is trying to, one, reuse wires that I have from all of my LDO under the deck kits. And eventually I'll just toss some excess cable away. But I'm going to need to run wires for the bed. And that means a ground lug up to the bed as well. So I'm just looking at all of my ground wires to see if anything is long enough. And I don't think it is. So I'm going to wind up because what I wanted to do is double the ground on the SSR, right? So I was going to ground the SSR to the Wago, and then from the SSR, run a secondary ground to the Wago underneath for the bed, so the bed's grounded. The it's just I don't have wire that'll be long enough for it, so I'm just going to run the one. I just need to grab another wire because the basic point is that I wanted to combine the two wires into a single crimp. So that's kind of where I'm trying to talk through it myself. Ah, all right. Ooh. Ooh, there we go. Like this is what I was looking for. Other than the fact I'm going to have to cut that off to join them together, this will give me a 2-wire run. One will go here, and then one will go to the bed Wago. That's all I needed. Put those two together, and we'll put those into a ring terminal. So we're putting that into a ring terminal. We'll crimp that down. Then we'll have a dual wire round on, like I said, going at the SSR. So this will ground to the SSR. We'll run one back to our common ground, and the other one goes down through the hole to the bed port. I definitely want to ground this going into the load side. No, there we go. So SSR, this will be the load side. We've got 2 wires coming out now, so that will enable us to bring one down and under into the bed Wago. And the other one's going to come across and go into our other ground. Oh yeah. Yeah, that is definitely something I will do off stream because one, it's backtracking, and two, yeah, I would just be, I don't want to say frustrated, but it can be frustrating getting those planetary gears to all align and mesh and play nicely together. So we'll do that off stream and get it squared away. And I want to put a couple of zip ties on those just to pretty them up. I am planning on adding at least a network jack port on the back here. And then we'll also possibly look at doing like a USB port or something, possibly, potentially. I just realized I probably want to bring the bed wires around here too, so let's go do that first. Bed wires, which would be what? Red and, well, we can do red and black or whatever we really want. Red, red, bunch of red. Do I not have any thicker black? On the other side. Options. Okay. All right. Now, bed wiring. We will do something different than that. It was a thought, but I'm going to change that thought. Well, maybe not, because what is this? This is a relatively small bed, right? So we don't really need like 18 gauge or 16 gauge. We can do 20 gauge on the bed on this, right? Micron bed, 180 by 180, mains power, short run. Would you do 20 or 18? And is this 20 or 18? I think this is 20. Oh no, this is 18. We're good. This is 18. So I need 2 loads and 1 neutral. One load comes in from the main power inlet, and then the other load goes out to the bed. Here. That's not going to be long enough to get down there, so we'll run the other long one. Finish what you're doing. Okay. Those are there. Those are there. Hey, Pete, how's it going? All right, sounds good, Projects and Dad Garage. You have a great day. Thanks for popping in, even if it was just for a tiny bit. Hope you're doing well today, Pete. We are working on our wiring, trying to do the main side and working on. We've got power going to our power supply and to our SSR. And I've got some wires heading down into the lower deck for the whatchamacallit, the yeah, I'll let you know, Projects and Dad's Garage. Um got wires going down to our um heated bed so that we're trying to get things routed fairly nicely and decently underneath here. We do that every once in a while. And I think I've come up with a plan on our fans. So I've got these ones set to be pushing out. These ones I think I'm going to set to push in. So it'll come in and out. And I've got 3-in-1s here, or two to one. So what I'm going to do is I'm thinking about just VHB taping these right down here. Power or fan, and then make one run from there into there. So each one of the side fans will be coming off of a fan port. We'll have a fan port for the bed blowers and a fan port for the Nevermore. And that way we get all 4 of our fan ports in use and things are going well. The only other thing I was thinking of is we could also, I can put these on, print the little mounts for these and screw them down, VHB tape across them, and VHB tape them right there on the den rail on either side. Boom, boom, and then come out and go in. So that's an option as well. I just think having this on the actual module, if you need to take it off, other than the fact that trying to get to the screw might be fun, you'll have to use a ball end driver to get that out. You take the one plug off, and now this is a whole module that can come out. Right, so that's an idea there. Bum, 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 bum. Where are we at? What are we thinking? Darn you. Okay. Got some spare wire here. Put that off to the side. Yeah, we're going to have to take the gantry apart as well, just because I don't think the gantry, I think the Z motors, I need to look at the meshing of the planetary gears. So I'm going to wind up taking the Z motors off stream and possibly rebuilding them. And I really don't want to just clip these wires. Maybe we will put them over here, because that way I can route the wires. If I don't, I'm going to have to clip these wires, and I kind of don't want to do that. If they were my fans, I would, but they're not my fans. So I don't want to cut them up too much. Oh, dang it. Did I just... Don't want to cut them up too much. I mean, we're not going to use the tacos on them, but at least we can leave the tacos in place in case he decides to use them in a different build down the road, you know? That's what I have a feeling. I think I have thrown a M8 in here with 12s. Oh well. I did. But I hope everybody's having a great night. I know I'm not going to be on here too much longer. I think I'm going to call it a night real soon here. And like I said, I will work on checking out these motors and fixing them if they need to be fixed. We'll do that off stream. This away for now before I forget it. I will say that, like I said, we got a Jabberwocky almost built. We're going to have another Jabberwocky to build. And I just did the order for the extra things I'm going to want to put on a Ender 3 Next Gen that will be coming in shortly. So thank you to Hector for getting, working with me to get that started. Yeah. This side's going to suck in, this side's going to blow out. Which means we can't use, actually I can blow out both sides. It just means it's going to suck air in through the front and back. So we could do that. We can do that. Oh, thank God that was closed. This is me, like, thinking through things on the fly. Making decisions on the fly. Changing my mind on the fly. At one of these points, I will do a build and I will have everything well thought out and laid out. And it's just not this build yet. We did get something new in for this build today. I know Choco Bro, I believe, had to take off already. But the colony clacker showed up. So at first we were going to do a K3 style door hinge, and he got some feedback from somebody at Fabreeko that had built one that way, saying might not be a good alternative. So he switched over to the colony clacker. So now I'm gonna have to print parts for that so that we can get that going. Well, not so we can get it going. And one of the things with that is, well, the front skirts might need to be reprinted because they're the colony clacker is basically the fridge door, which is going to add another 15 millimeters at least to the front of the machine. So there are extensions to the front skirts that will allow us to basically pull the screen and everything forward just a bit. But that means that these front skirt pieces right here will be coming off to get replaced. Ofta. Hey, Down Under Maker, welcome in. I hope you are having a great day. Actually, you should just be starting your day if I remember right. Okay, so what have we gotten done today? Well, we got our gantry hung on the Z-axis, and then I think we're going to wind up taking the gantry back off. I'm going to do that off stream because two of the motors are working fine. Two of the motors are not. Two of the Z motors. And with the colony clacker, I'm going to have to change out the front skirt pieces anyhow. So even though I think it's one of the two motors needs to come off, but three of them are going to have to come off to redo the skirt pieces because the front skirts and the foot mounts are different. So we'll do that. I'll get those parts printing. I'll take off the Z's that are making the weird noises, which are these two here. They'll come off. In fact, this will be my indication that I have to take them off. Yeah, I'm going to do this, and I'm going to have to flip this over to take the Z off. So let me not cause me any more problems. Because I'm going to have to take the gantry back off. So I'm going to have to remove the Z-belts to take the gantry back off before I can take the motors off to check the motors. Because, like I said, these two, I never checked any of the Z motors. This side moves pretty easily by hand. This side is not moving at all. It feels like it's skipping belts. But it's obviously not. So there's an issue and something is not right on this side. And then once again, we'll have to take this off to redo some cosmetic parts. So I'll get those parts starting to print. And then I'll take these off tomorrow and work on them off stream because I really don't want to put you guys through that and me cussing trying to get the gantry and the belts back on again. You guys don't deserve that. What else? We got a lot of wires now spinning up over here. We're going to get, when I'm printing some parts, I'm going to print some parts for these 2-into-1 three-way JSTs. I'm going to print the parts out that this will mount on, and then I will affix them to the DIN rail, and that way we can just run our fans from each side into there, and then one wire each, so that'll take up 2 of the 4 fans. The other 2 will be the blower fan and the bed fan. Well, the underbed blower fans and the Nevermore filter fan. There we go. So yeah, that's pretty much it. I think the wiring under here is actually going to wind up being fairly simple, because all the tool head stuff is basically going to be one CAN bus going up to the gantry where the GBB15 is going to be mounted, and then another one going from the GBB15 up to the tool head for a CAN bus board. So yeah, I think that's going to help simplify the wiring. Maybe not the config, but the wiring. So I'll do some things in here to try and figure out the motors. And then, here we go, that's what I can do. I'll just put a piece of tape on them to indicate that these are the motors that I need to check. So it's this one and this one need to be checked. Okay. Because I will probably forget between now and tomorrow. And with that, folks, let me see who is up and running that we can raid into. Carmela, Autumn Ivy, Sid Heresy, Declarations, looks like he's playing a game. Chris Perillo, Stephen Poole, Cyber Jules, working on a hammer. And Fried Nuda, Tofa Sadai, Astro Canuck. What do you guys think? You want to go over to Astro Canuck? He's doing a charity Lego stream right now. I think that's what we'll do, is we'll jump over to Astro Canuck. Yeah. So thank you everybody for being here. I really appreciate you all taking your time and coming up and hanging out with me. You're all wrapping up stand-up builders. Yep, gotcha. So yeah, I've got some things to check into and do on this, and we'll come back Saturday. Saturday we are not streaming in the morning because we've got the Maker meetup. We will not be streaming Saturday morning. We may stream Saturday night or Sunday as a makeup, so we can continue getting the build done. But we will not be live streaming on Saturday morning. Okay? And Jedi Spidey, I hope to see you down there, and I hope you're able to bring your surprise guest with you. So yeah, there's a Maker meetup this coming Saturday at Ecovate 3D. So with that said, everyone, thank you so much for being here. Take care, stay safe, stay dry, and I will see you guys next time, sometime this weekend. Bye now. And for those of you watching this later on YouTube, thank you so much for being here. If you like the content, please give me a like. If you like the content, please subscribe and make sure to check that bell to be notified of future events. And speaking of future events and videos, YouTube's going to be suggesting another one right over here. Thank you so much. Have a